This news breaking today. The federal probe into Hunter Biden has now reached a, quote, critical stage. A source telling Fox News that the probe has, and we know that this probe has really been underway since 2018 at the federal level. It is reportedly investigating tax violations, foreign lobbying violations, potential false statements, and gun violations. But the National Review writes about the potentially larger issue that looms over all of this, writing this: Hunter Biden is the least important person who should be under the microscope. The major question is whether Hunter is a vehicle by which his father, the now president of the United States, indirectly cashed in on his political influence. David Spunt reporting live right with us here on set in our D.C. bureau. Hi, David.
Hi, Martha. Good to be with you in person.
Good to have you.
We know that 4 years into this investigation in Hunter Biden, as of today, he has not been charged with a crime. And to be clear, there's no indication his father, the president, is under any investigation as of now. But this probe began in 2018, but was sidelined, Martha, by COVID. Now we're learning things are coming to a head. A source familiar with the investigation confirms the grand jury tasked with looking at potential evidence wrapped up its latest term in this case just a few weeks ago. The case may now be in the hands of the government to make the next move. The source said the U.S. Attorney and the Justice Department here in Washington looking into whether to charge Hunter with various tax violations and, more seriously, possible foreign lobbying violations and possible false statements, Martha. Now, when Joe Biden became president, he kept on David Weiss, this man. He's the U.S. Attorney in Wilmington, Delaware. He's a Donald Trump appointee. Sources say President Biden did so to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest. Now, grand juries hear multiple cases. In this instance, the Delaware-based grand jury is made up of everyday citizens. They may hear cases about a wide range of things, from, let's say, a suspect involved in a bank robbery in Wilmington to the Hunter Biden investigation.
It sounds like we're trotting out a guilty plea, not necessarily an indictment. And there's a big difference, right? If there's a guilty plea, you can actually just file an information as the prosecutor that alleges the very narrow facts that you're going to make the guy plead guilty to.
Just because this grand jury term is over, it does not mean there will necessarily be charges. However, they are possible. A grand jury simply says yes or no to new charges. A new grand jury with brand new people will serve, Martha, over the next few months. But something is coming to a head, we're hearing.
All right, David, thank you very much. So let's bring in Brett Tolman, former U.S. Attorney and Executive Director of Right on Crime. Brett, good to have you with us. What's your take on what we're likely to get out of this and what you think the time frame looks like?
You know, Martha, none of this adds up. None of it makes sense. Indictments should have been brought when you first started calling witnesses and close thereto. That's standard. The fact that a grand jury is now terminating here, fairly soon, or has terminated, in essence, you have to start all over. If the new grand jury gets impaneled, you have to represent all the evidence that you may have presented. They can do it by way of an information and try to settle this, in one clean shot, but it's not adding up. It's certainly not what I would have done, and it's not what the majority of my colleagues who served as U.S. attorneys and assistant U.S. attorneys would have done in this case.
So why do you think that is?
Well, you certainly have the president's son in that angle, but anybody who wanted to find, seek justice in this case, you would have charged Hunter Biden very quickly. You would have threatened distribution of narcotics and the possession of firearms, which carry long, lengthy prison sentences. You would have threatened the other, potential charges, and you would have used him as a source to explain what was going on with the family and the potential corruption involving foreign countries. I mean, this is so simple and so basic that the only conclusion I can make is political games are being played and have from the very beginning.
You look at the fact that the Department of Justice has been investigating this since 2018. This goes back several years, and we've all heard, sort of a little bit of the background on what they were looking into, that there were tax issues that were sort of undergirding most of this investigation. But the problem is that if you're the Department of Justice on this, you really can't swing and miss. You have to make sure that what you have is a crime that has been committed here and that you can prove it. We all remember what we saw with Michael Sussman and the suggestion that he had lied about working for Hillary Clinton's campaign. And the jury, they didn't see that. They weren't having that argument.
No question. Every case that you bring as a prosecutor, if it gets to a jury, there's a chance of acquittal. The difference between Sussman and Hunter Biden in this instance is the laptop and the contents of the laptop. I mean, there's so much visual evidence that a jury would be looking at, that they would see pictures, images, emails, text messages. There's just so much that this is the equivalent of a softball being floated, and you have an extremely large bat. I mean, this is not a 90 mile per hour fastball coming down, and you're just hoping you swing and hit it.
I understand. With regard to the laptop and whether or not Jim Trusty is correct about maybe there's a guilty plea coming through here, and it just makes me think of the red flag laws and the purchase of a weapon, or for him having a weapon. The whole country has seen the videos on this laptop of him, smoking crack and doing drugs and all of it. And I think about the red flag laws that they're discussing across this country. I would think that would be, a pretty clear violation. And do you sense that there's going to be some sort of guilty plea out of this?
Yeah, I think they can't ignore the gun charge. It's a lying and buying situation. It's very simple, very easy to prove. My guess is they'll do it because it's there, and they would look very silly if they don't bring that charge.
Brett Tolman, thank you very much. We'll bring you back when we get more information. We start to learn where this whole thing is going. Thank you, Brett. Always good to see you.